Well, that was depressing, wasn't it, everybody? Man, that is an absolutely terrible, poor effort from the Bills going into the bye week. So they've got a long time to think about this, and the Bills organization has a lot of soul searching to do because that was an unacceptable performance put out there on national TV against the Atlanta Falcons. This is Bill Matic, my Bills podcast, going on throughout the football season after every single Bills game. It's right here. So make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. Make sure you're hitting subscribe with the button below me so that you get notified when we go live. If you are watching also on X or Instagram Live, we always welcome you as well. You can catch us on all three of those platforms live after every Bills game. This is an homage to the greatest, or one of the greatest, hip-hop albums of all time, Nas's Illmatic. And so we conjure up the 90s because what says 90s more than the Bills? But this effort is the 90s in the bad way, like the really late 90s where you could tell the horse was out of the barn and the greatness wasn't to return. And I don't want to say the greatness has to return for this football season or won't return, but there's a lot of stuff that makes you kind of wince or cringe in this game, which is how Bills fans felt as all of the legends of the 90s were retiring or getting up there in age. And so every single podcast, every single show, we give you the good, the bad, and the mystical. And just as an overarching theme in this game against the Falcons, the problem is the Bills can play so much better than they have played through the first 6 weeks of the season. And now the stat is going to haunt them. And this is a stat that everybody will bring up for the next 2 weeks. And that is that their wins come against teams a combined 3-21. A winless Jets squad, a bad Saints squad, a bad Dolphins squad. The list goes on and on. And so none of those wins are impressing anybody. And now you have to go into the bye with 2 consecutive losses against playoff caliber teams. And I don't think either the Patriots or the Falcons are great squads. What we know is this: the Bills are having a really tough time playing 60 minutes of football. And that was evident in the first 5 weeks. And that was clearly evident against the Falcons because there were glimpses of good, the touchdown drives, but most of it was an irregular, inconsistent, kind of haphazard effort. And why that has happened week after week after week, who knows? And that, to me, is the biggest concern here. It's good and it's bad. The good is we know, the Bills can be much better than they've put on film. Why, though, it's taken 6 weeks and they still haven't clicked in there, to me, is the biggest warning sign of the season. Because it suggests that either A, the injury toll has prevented them from having any continuity, okay, and prevented them from really having their best 11 out there on offense or on defense, snap after snap, drive after drive, game after game. And those injuries just may always be there because by the time you get to December and January, when this season will be, obviously, that'll be defined. The season will be defined when we get to the playoffs. This team might never be 100% healthy. You kind of have to learn how to navigate the injuries that you have because nobody is 100% healthy when we get to that time of the season. So that's part of it potentially, but that's an issue. The second part of it is, are they just looking ahead to January knowing that everything is dependent on whether they beat the Chiefs or whomever is in the AFC in front of them? And if that's the case, you're squandering opportunities now. You are squandering the standings now. It does not take Bill Walsh to be able to dissect the football, reality here, which is the Chiefs are 3-3, and you had a chance going into the bye to have a 2 or 3 game lead over them. Okay? You had a chance to be 6-0 if you could have played your best football. Now, it's important to play your best football later, not now, but you could have had a 3-game lead going into the bye, and instead it's a 1-game lead over the Chiefs. And I think that's the rest of the AFC's reality as well. The Chiefs are the standard, and the Chiefs look like they're getting better and healthier. and they're 3-3, and yet they have not been buried in the standings because nobody else has risen up to do the burying. So that's the first part, the overarching theme from the loss in Atlanta. Let's start with your knocks on the night. Yes, we're going to start with the knocks because that's the ugly part of this game. And I think that's the most important part. Nobody wants to hear me go into the good stuff at this part of the podcast. Number one, undeniably, the defense was pathetic. And when you give up 335 first half yards, there are glaring issues. The first glaring issue is that the tackling was poor. I mean, really poor. There's so many shoulder tackles being thrown by specifically members of the secondary, nobody wrapping up. And I'm not sure why this is something that they haven't cured by now in the Sean McDermott era, or certainly by week 6. We've seen this throughout the season. I guess part of this is in today's NFL, you don't want to get 15-yard penalties, but at the same time, you can wrap up. You don't have to be scared to wrap up. There's just a lot of shoulders being thrown into ball carriers, and that's unacceptable. If you want to go back to the last time the Bills gave up 335 yards in the first half, it's been nearly 25 years, 2001, okay, bad old days. And that was against the Indianapolis Colts. And that would have been a Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison, Edgerrin James, Indianapolis Colts squad. Let's face it, while the Falcons are improved and Bijan Robinson's really good, I don't think we had 3 Hall of Famers on the field here tonight for the Atlanta Falcons. And so to give up 335 in the first half was really bad, especially considering Michael Penix early on had to go to a silent snap count because there were so many Bills fans in Atlanta. So it wasn't like you were playing in some daunting road stadium. Absolutely pathetic. The Josh interception in the first half is a killer as well because you're trying to get some momentum. Your defense finally gets off the field, and Josh just throws an errant pass. Now we've seen 4 interceptions in the last 2 weeks, which is very un-Josh Allen-like. Why that has taken place is anybody's guess. Josh has usually been so protective of the football. And what I noticed was in the last 2 weeks against the Patriots and the Falcons, while Josh has traditionally had, I would say, the last couple of seasons, certainly last year, his MVP year, a calmness when the storm has brewed around him, which has elevated his game. I haven't noticed that from him. He has seemed hurried. He has seemed a little out of sorts. And so maybe defenses are doing something differently to him this year. But he needs to click more into don't worry, I got this mode instead of kind of being caught in the wash with everybody else. I thought that was a very disappointing part of the last 2 weeks. Josh contributed to the stoppages of momentum and to making a bad situation worse, which is something he really did not do at any part last season. And I think, the bad news is that, again, this has been an opportunity for the Buffalo Bills in a weakened AFC without Lamar Jackson, without Joe Burrow, with the Chargers obviously not looking that good, with the Chiefs having 3 losses, to have separated themselves as the number 1 seed in the standings. And they did not do it. They could have been the number 1 seed with a bullet with this early season schedule. And instead, they had 2 really lacking efforts. Really, they've had 6 lacking efforts, but only 2 of them really cost them. And that's disappointing. Also, it's not anything they can control, but the injuries are a problem. You have Milano out. You had Kincaid ruled out early in the game with the oblique injury before the game. You had the injuries that have beset the defense all over the place. You get Ed Oliver back, but you're losing guys in pregame warmups. And then, you have the injury to Josh Palmer ruled out early in the second half. That's just, it's something everybody has to deal with, but I will say give them a bit of a pass. The Bills have dealt with more significant injuries than a lot of teams in football. Not any team. I mean, the Niners have dealt with certainly more. There's a few other teams I can think of, but the Bills' injuries certainly have taken their toll, and that's something that Hopefully after the bye, you get a lot more of these bodies back, and the injury to Josh Palmer hopefully does not seem to be all that devastating, although having your knee rolled up on that artificial turf from behind, a really bad look, obviously. All right, let's try to find a few positives here, shall we? The opening drive is a good one. They have two really good drives. It's the two touchdown drives where they mix the run and the pass. Josh Palmer's big play in the opening drive is a great throw. It's a great catch, and it's a great big chunk play to set a tone. And then they score the touchdown. So they don't settle for 3 there. They get to 7. And then they score the touchdown coming out of the half, which is what, we were all kind of wondering. Can you get the double dip, a score at the end of the half, and then a score coming out of the first half or coming out of the halftime break so that, you can double dip there and come back from down 14 in one fell swoop before giving the defense, giving the Atlanta Falcons the ball back and the defense a chance to go back down to the field and have to try to stop them. So those are good things. The problem is that, they're few and far between. It can't only be 2 scoring drives. You did have, you had James Cook running well. He averaged 5.1 yards per game. I think James Cook has been as advertised all season long. He's lived up to the contract, but not enough chances to use him in this game, trailing by multiple scores throughout. So that's disappointing. So not much positives there. I think in the first 6 games of the season, there's not a lot of positives because, you're kind of focused on the barometer is, can this team beat the Chiefs in January? Can this team get to a Super Bowl? And the way that they played the first 6 weeks, they cannot. And the way that they played against the Atlanta Falcons, they absolutely cannot. It is time, though, to find the mysticism in everything. We do look for a higher power. If you're going to believe, if this is a team of destiny, if destiny is calling me, as the Killers would sing, then you got to look for something a little bigger than just the X's and O's. And so let's honor the buffalo. The buffalo is a sacred creature in so many indigenous cultures. And of course, Monday was Indigenous Cultures Day, Indigenous Peoples Day. Let's find a reason to honor the buffalo. Okay? And honoring the buffalo, let's do this properly, shall we? Let's honor the buffalo by giving it a proper sentence. And that is a stat that I saw earlier in the week, which, does make you feel like there could be some higher forces tapping on the shoulders of the Buffalo Bills. After playing in Atlanta on Monday night, Josh Allen has now played in 31 of the 32 venues, or I guess because the Giants and Jets play at MetLife Stadium, he's played in 30 of the 31 current NFL stadiums. The only one he says he hasn't played in, Levi Stadium, Santa Clara, California, where the Super Bowl will be played. And so, to check off the boxes, what a perfect narrative that will be should the Buffalo Bills reach the Super Bowl. The last stadium to check off the list is the stadium where they will play the Super Bowl in February. All right, perhaps that is enough to get you through to the bye week, get you through the bye week and beyond this difficult loss. We do want to thank our sponsor here, Sandbaggers. Sandbaggers is an awesome golf simulator and sports bar in Hamburg, New York. I highly encourage you to go check it out. This is such a cool place. This is Sandbaggers. We had our big time meet and greet there a couple of weeks ago with all of our listeners. It was so much fun. That was the Buffalo Bar Tab night. And I picked up the bar tab of Labatt Blue Light and Santo Tequila for 2 full hours for all you animals out there. But Sunday NFL action is great there. They've got all the Sunday package. And so watch football throughout the day there on a Sunday. Yeah, that's where we had our meetup back in late September. So that was a lot of fun. And I can vouch for Steve and the gang over at Sandbaggers. It is an awesome place to watch sports, the baseball postseason, your NFL action, college football. The beer is cold. The bartenders are great. It's wide open, big windows. So you kind of feel like you're out there and enjoying yourself and not cramped up into a dark little place. So Sandbaggers has been our sponsor since we launched this before the season. We thank them very much for being the core title sponsor of the show Appreciate you, Sandbaggers. Hoping to get back up there at some point this season. Have another meet and greet over at Sandbaggers in Hamburg, right on Main Street, Buffalo Street, so you can enjoy yourself as you walk around a great town like Hamburg, New York. All right, that's going to do it for me. That is your Bill Matic episode after the disappointing, depressing, and demoralizing Monday night loss against the Atlanta Falcons. But remember, there's always reason to believe, and the belief comes through the higher power of honoring the Buffalo. We'll get through this thing together, shall we? All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. I'm DA. Catch me Monday through Friday, weekday mornings on SiriusXM, Mad Dog Sports Radio, channel 82. I will see you next time. This is Bill Matic, your Buffalo Bills podcast.